I would like to welcome Mr. Ashwin Chaudhary, CEO and Managing Director at Accedere, and also Dr. Kaustabh Gondhalekar from Ananya Shilpi Consultant, Mr. Ajay Joshi, Asset, also Mr. AMS Rajesh Kanna, GM-ICT IIMA. Can we have a huge round of applause for them, please? Let's cheer them up. So this is the first panel discussion with the topic CERT-In latest guidelines, adoption and adherence. Also, I would like to invite Mr. Dinesh O. Bareja, COO, Open Security Alliance. A huge round of applause for him as well. Thank you so much, sir, for being here, for your appearance.
This works? Okay, I'll start with a quick introduction, introducing myself, and then introducing the entire panelist, and then we will set the context for the discussion on the CERT-In, right? And then we will take question answers with the panel, and it's going to be not only with the panel, but with everybody, right? So feel free to have your questions, even contribute to the discussion. This is going to be a challenges that we face discussion, and we just don't want to make it one way. We want to understand the challenges, what the industry is facing, and how can we together come to resolve these challenges, right? So that is the context today. I am Ashwin Chaudhary. I am the Managing Director of Accedere. We are a cybersecurity audit firm. We focus in 2 countries, the US, we are a US CPA firm also, and in India also, we are a certain empaneled auditor. And we purely do audits, assessments, SOC 2, cloud security. We are one of the 15 only companies empaneled by Cloud Security Alliance across the globe. And for the last 7 years, we focus about 70 to 80% of our work on the cloud security. We audit about 300 applications, SaaS applications, IaaS, PaaS across the world every year. And my past has been in the OT security also. I spent about 10 years in OT security in the Middle East and other regions. And that's what I was asking some questions. You must have heard about it. So that's me. People, I mean, many of you here are my friends. You know me. I don't want to give more information. I mean, you already know me. So I would like the panelists, starting with Dinesh ji. I know, please introduce yourself. If you can share the mic or come here.
So, good morning, everybody. I'm Dinesh Bareja, and I have a boutique consulting firm, Open Security Alliance. The only USP, of course, we do everything like any other security consulting firm, from A to Z. So whether you say IT, OT, AT, BT, whatever. Okay, and the only difference is that, okay, my USP, what I bring to the table is usually that, okay, common sense and practical experience over the last 20 years. And we seem to be pretty okay, doing pretty okay, not very good. Not very good, considering COVID or whatever. But unlike Ashwin, I am totally India-centric. So having been overseas or whatever, but India-centric. So thanks and good morning, everybody.
My name is Ajay Joshi. I'm representing ESET. I'm country head for SAARC region. So basically, ESET is a Central European cybersecurity company where we have got the products right from the home segment to SMB to enterprise. So what relevant to the today's topic, basically what we have seen like the enterprise customers, what are challenges they have been facing. So based on our experience working with customers as well as the partners, so what has been the observation and what has been, what is required basically post the incidents, what is the support required from the vendor side. So my focus will be on that part. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Rajesh Kanna. I'm from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. I take care of ICT at IIMA. I'm here to talk about, discuss about some of the issues or the guidelines given by CERT-In. And of course, the previous session, there were some discussions. We'll try to address those issues in this discussion.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Kaustabh Gondhalekar. I am a CEO of ASCS. We are an information security company. Along with that, we are also diversified into renewable energy. That's the reason why I was asking for questions to Mendele sir. Around 15 years we've been serving in India as well as in Middle East. That's all.
Okay, thank you everybody for the wonderful introduction. We have a wonderful panel here. We have wonderful guests here, the audience. And let me first set the context of what we are discussing today. On 28th of April, CERT-In issued the directives for compliances with almost everybody in India. And in my 20 years of cybersecurity auditing experience, this is the first and the best thing I have seen which has come into the Indian market. And we have been wondering why there's no compliance, why there's no teeth, why there's no monitoring, why there are no guidelines in terms of cybersecurity incident reporting. And this is one of the best things from an auditor, from a compliance, from a cyber crime standpoint. This has happened in India. This is my personal opinion. And we would like to see the opinion of everybody in the panelists and of course from the audience as to what they think about it. And I'll just highlight the 6 points that CERT-In addressed for entities to comply with. First is NTP sync, right, with NIC or the NPL servers. Second is mandatory reporting of incidents in 6 hours. Third is provide information to CERT-In as required from compliance standpoint. Fourth is the log should be securely enabled and kept for at least 180 days on a rolling system. Then data centers, VPNs, and cloud services to keep a KYC for at least 5 years, including the IP addresses, the period of contracts, and there were about 7 points which they listed. And we saw a lot of media attention with VPNs and cloud providers, etc. these days. There have been a lot of privacy issues also which people raised, which we are going to discuss today in our topic. The last is, again, the KYC, but related to fintech and BFSI and wallet companies with Naresh and others would be happy to let them also talk on that topic. For KYC for 5 years based on SEBI or DOT guidelines or the RBI guidelines. So these are the 6 points which CERT-In mandated for organizations. And there were a lot of hue and cry, and then they gave frequently asked questions to resolve any doubts in May. And in June, again, they issued a notice for compliances. For MSMEs and cloud and other service providers, they relaxed the time until 25th of September. And for others, it was mandatory reporting, compliance within 60 days, what they addressed, right? So that is the context for today's topic. And I would start with some questions on the panelists and everybody. So everybody also next after the panelists, and it will come to you also, CISOs, etc. So we'll have an active discussion. The topic that the point I want to stress is we want to see how these challenges impact us in our organizations as CISOs, CXOs, IT administrators, security compliance people, and auditors, consultants, all the like. We want to come together to address these challenges. If there is something that we need to collectively come and go back to CERT-In and advise them or take some feedback, let us do that. If there are real challenges, let us address them and let us see how effective this can be or cannot be. Right? We just heard Mr. Mahindli also say about his challenges, right? And let us see how we can take this forward. So my first question, I would start with what is the overall feedback, right, of these new guidelines from an industry perspective, from the people who are in the compliance perspective, from the whole community as such. So I will start with Kaustabh as to what is his thought on the overall feedback of these guidelines. Directives rather, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Ashwin. I think these guidelines, what they've come up with, would definitely help organizations to secure their data in the longer run. Previous guidelines were also good, but now they have been improvised or rather improved, I will say. And it will help the CEOs or the data analysts to have secured and confidential data available to them all the time so that they can run their charts or run their programs, algorithms based on that, and to help the business take a good shape, better shape. So I think the feedback is good as far as the industry is concerned. This is my opinion as well, as being a part of the CXO level.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good step that CERT has taken.
So Rajesh, how does an institution like IIM, which is one of the premier bodies of the country and one of the, anything happens, right? So IIMs, IITs are the first to, be in the limelight. How do you, as an IIM body, take this as a feedback?
Thank you, Ashwin. To continue from what he has left, there are 6 points that you mentioned, the recent guidelines from the CERT-In. The maintaining the logs for 180 days, no issues. Most companies will maintain the logs. The second, the second and the most debatable point is that how incident has happened within 6 hours, how it can be. That is the institutions like us, I mean the national importance, or there are some other bodies or other institutions and critical infrastructure companies, PSUs. It is not that we should report. They are already on top of us. It is not like we face that incident and we report that. They are already on the top of it. Or otherwise, there is one more case, a real case, which happened in this. So in the case of education institutions, be it IITs, IIMs, or medical college, the entrance exam used to happen. Yeah. So in the case of UG, undergraduation, the entrance exam, in the process of conducting the entrance examinations, you get a lot of students' data. You get a lot. These data has got a sensitivity. There a lot of sensitivity. Of course, on the UG data doesn't make it doesn't make, because the people are not that much aware of it. But when it comes to the higher education or the post graduation, there are a lot of exams conducted at the national level. That exam results are taken for higher studies by IIMs, IITs. So the 2015 onwards, it's a habit that, or it's a practice that immediately the results are announced. Next third day, the data of those students are in the hands of the third-party companies selling those data 5,000 rupees on a street market. It's happening. This was a lot of concern. It is not the data leak, but they also, these selling companies, they collect some of the private coaching institutes or some of the private colleges, even they buy the data and then started torturing the students, the candidates. So the point is here, even the institution didn't know that there is a data breach happened, but the students, those who are getting calls from those private institutions, they have already reaching the CERT-In that my data, how it has come in. True. So it is not that we are going to report it as soon as the incidents happen. The incident has happened means there are two parties. I am the affected one and there is another one. So in the whole ecosystem, even if I am not reporting within the 6 hours, there is another one who is going to report to that. And from CERT-In, the institutions getting the alerts and what is that mechanism you have it, what are all the controls you put in place, etc. This is one case where that's how the 6 hours has come in place. Second one is, in the critical infrastructures, whether it is the power stations or energy utilities or nuclear installations or defense, etc. I shouldn't be sharing this, but since it's a professional body, the government has got a honeypots. So the honeypots, which is covering which is monitoring the critical installations and then collecting those logs and sending it to certain nominated control centers. So the other way, it is monitored by them. Now, so either if you are not reporting, there is another way to come into place, or the impacted people are going to report to that. So 6 hours, meaning that it is either what you have taken, the action what you have taken or not. Such an incident has happened, you need to report to the CERT-In. That is the point they are making it.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. So, Ajit, you want to add anything on the feedback, overall feedback from an OEM perspective, or what consumers are coming up to, say, asking you to provide solutions to meet these certain guidelines, etc., from the enterprise perspective, etc.?
Yeah, definitely, Ashwin. What we understood from few customers we spoke to, like after the guidelines came into, so they said like probably this was because what we have seen in last couple of years, there have been like increasing cyber attacks, maybe from external countries specifically, like, specifically targeting certain critical infrastructure like banking and other. So I think it was very critical probably for the government standpoint to have a proper focused approach where maybe like a enterprise customer or critical infrastructure to having that focus and how they can prevent it. So probably the guideline which came into as reporting within 6 hours is probably from that standpoint, yes, because it has to be prevented in first place. But if you are not able to prevent it, obviously it has to be reported in time and then it has to be investigated. And I think that was the main objective. And obviously like enterprise customer, they have to comply with it. So that is the overall feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Dinesh, you would like to give your perspective of what what your clients and you as a consulting organization, look at this from feedback.
Of course, from the client perspective, what I find, of course, people have thought that it's a bit tough. Yes, it is tough, no doubt about that, because you've not been doing anything for the last N number of years. And today when the government says, Karo, then you are going to have trouble, of course.
Right.
We all talk about being compliant to NABCD standards and whatever, and we have certificates on our walls to show that.
Right.
But our compliance level, we can just scratch the surface and we'll know it's a black hole over there.
True.
Okay, that's one.
Agree.
The reason why it came out, okay, I have a different take on that. It's very simple, is that over the years, we find that we are compliant only in word, not in the spirit at all. Not in the spirit at all, whether it's a large bank or it's a small bank.
True.
Okay, or whether it's a large organization or a small organization. Everybody just knows one thing, how to sweep things under the carpet.
Absolutely.
Nobody has reported to SEBI, nobody has reported to RBI, nobody has reported to any regulatory body till date voluntarily.
True. Agree.
So today when you say 6 hours, you've got no choice but to report.
Absolutely.
Whether you like it or not. Okay, that's one. The second thing is, in terms of opinion, we find a lot of flack, since this was announced. There's a lot of negative media. And if you just go and research that media, you will find there are 3 or 4 organizations who are only talking about this. Those organizations are not in the cybersecurity business. They are only in the lobbying business.
True.
Only in the lobbying business.
Great.
And I've heard a couple of those guys, the type of acid which they take out, on the government in terms of what we are saying or whatever. It is, disgusting, to say the least. And unfortunately, none of our so-called industry bodies have even stood up and made one single point positively in point of any of those 6 things which you talked about already. Any one of them.
They were just talking about VPNs and they were just talking about all those things.
Whether it is 6 hours.
Right, and they were talking about privacy, and I don't know how privacy comes here. I've been in this industry for 20 years. I don't know how privacy is related to this.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right?
Absolutely.
Right? So any feedback from the people here, CISOs, CXOs, or anybody who wants to give an overall feedback of this new guidelines before we go on to the next question? Let's go question topic by topic. Only one. Okay, please go ahead. Do we have a mic? Let it be out only so that we can share this. Right? So only one we will take for per question.
Check. So just to make it simple, sir, we have got the guidelines, we have understood it, we are doing the exercise, or we want to report it. The challenge is, we have our own playbook from a customer standpoint, our internal organization policy standpoint, and various other factors. And we can't upfront report that it is an incident unless we investigate that. So what we want is, if regulatory entities are asking us to report it, we want a proper playbook. Okay, this is the incident, you report to us. We are ready to do that. But giving open statement that cyber incident ho gaya, report karo, that is little tough for us because we have to handle the sensitivity of the customer across all geographies. And sir, you mentioned about the privacy part. It has become very sensitive nowadays. And
We will come to the question later
Yeah,
on.
sure,
That's my last question.
yeah, so this facilitation, if it is done from a regulatory standpoint, a playbook, one incident breach हो गया, data breach माने क्या मतलब है? Phone miss हो गया बोलने से GDPR
Got
बोलकर
it.
report करो.
Got it,
ऐसा
fine. Okay, thank you.
Sir,
So my next question,
can I respond
please,
to that?
I want to add something, Vijay.
CERT is a very small organization. CERT is not 1,000 people or 10,000 people. So you talked about playbook. It will take you about 1 day to make a playbook and just send it back to CERT. That, sir, this is what you said. You put on an FAQ and this is what we say. Can you do this? See, the problem is what? The problem is that we all find problems. None of us have stood up and said, ki ye karo. Or none of us have gone to Delhi and taken you don't need an appointment with DG CERT, let me tell you that. You can walk into that office, stand outside and 20 minutes, he will call you in. Go and try it sometime.
True, I've tried that, yes.
DG CERT is the highest authority. Make your playbook, print it out, carry it and put it on a table ki aapne ye nahi dala hai. It is a problem for us. 6 hours. I just talked about that 6 hours. Sir, tell me one thing. Have you got a Spock in your organization? One of the points which the directions have asked is that every company should have a CERT Spock. It does not require anything except making one email address and telling CERT ki ye hamara email address hai, we will be connecting with you. Please send all your TI to us over here. And ABC person is the person who's responsible. Sir, tell me one thing. Out of the 100,000 companies in this country, or the 100,000 people who are objecting, how many have made a Spock?
I understand your point. But from our company standpoint, we have a Spock. And we are empaneled from CERT-In. So we are doing good from our standpoint.
You have no choice.
Yeah, thank you. Dinesh, let's take the next question. Next round. Otherwise, we'll keep going in circles, right? So please allow me. Right, let's go to the next question. So next question again, the round is, we heard about 6 hours reporting and log management and incident management as a one area, right? So we heard you talking about students' data and all those things. We also heard Dr. Naresh. We also heard Mr. Mahendale talking about incident management and SOG. So my question is around that. Okay, what we have seen in the past 20 years or so many data, that data breaches take about 6 months of time, right, to analyze and report, to understand that there was a real data breach, right? First point. Many organizations don't have visibility. We have heard from Dr. Mahendale, Dr. Hazale, Mr. Mahendale, that they don't have full visibility, right? We heard from that we need AI, ML to get into the visibility. Otherwise, we'll never be able to, reach the incidents and never analyze incidents, right? And this 6 hours reporting and not having visibility, not having governance, not having, the full, full window panes in such a scenario that we have in the world today, and including India, and with increasing cyber breaches, right? How do you think that we can overcome this problem of putting the incident managements, SIEMs, UEB, and so on, and whatever you call, CDC, and all the terms, right, to get a full visibility of incidents? Like, we don't want customers to go and call CERT, okay, this is what happened. It should be with us, right? And we should be, no, this happened to us, and voluntarily we are disclosing in 6 hours' time. We don't want customers to report to CERT. How can the enterprises, right, come together or solve this problem of reporting the 6 hours, including the incident management and the tools that we don't have visibility at all? So that is the question, starting with Kaustabh. Yes.
According to me, I think this question has been a pain area for last so many years. So understanding, as sir said, you have a Spock in place, you have a playbook in place. My take here is that till the point is investigated, you cannot report it. That is the point number one, because there can be a lot of false positives in this entire activity. So once it is investigated, only then it can be reported. But yes, it cannot be done within 6 hours most of the times. So, to my knowledge or to my experience, what I could say is pattern analysis is one thing that every company must probably start doing. Along with that, IoTs and AIs of the world, those can be used to understand what kind of breach is done or what kind of breaches actually happened. Basis that there has to be an investigative mechanism as well, as we have in SIEMs, part of it. But we should have some kind of investigative mechanisms which enable us to understand or eliminate the false positives before we report it as an incident. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for anyone to justify why they are reporting it.
Yeah, great, thank you. Rajesh, you emphasize a lot on IIMs and critical infrastructure like IIMs and data going out. So what is it that you have a take on this, getting a visibility in your environment first before anybody else reports, right?
Yeah. This particular case which I was referring is not from the IIMs or IITs. The competitive exam or the entrance exam was handled by some other third-party agency, which is big. So it is their process, their infrastructure, but the impact is with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We are questionable and we are
name
accountable.
get impacted ultimately. The brand image gets impacted.
So first one is that, but still we are accountable, we are questionable.
Absolutely.
So infrastructure is, the point that is here, how do you define an incident which is worth reporting to CERT-In? Where are we making that call? Okay. The impact that has been created, in what measured? So brand has gone out, or you got a financial loss on that, or what else? So that makes.
But just to add, Rajesh, 1 second, they've given a list of all the possible, like
that,
website defacing, and they've given all the examples, even scanning, and somebody is trying to scan you. Yeah, you have it, sir.
So first, we need to be very clear that whether this is an incident by definition worth reporting to CERT-In, which has caused the institute damage, brand damage, or the image has fallen down, or you got a real financial loss into that. So that makes the incident defined. Then accordingly, you will report it to that, the sensitivity or impact. Now, coming back to the certain guidelines, now what type of incidents to be reported? The certain guidelines very clear that it doesn't say you will have to report vulnerabilities. No. Even before the incident happening, there is something called vulnerability, and everyone here we are aware of doing a vulnerability assessment, and everyone is engaged to do. So if we are clear on vulnerability assessment, not as a compliance audit, not as a one time, but make it as a continuous process, then the cost of putting those controls or whatever, that is going to come up. Now, vulnerability is not mandatory to be reported to CERT-In, and what else? So there is a 20 numbers, 20 type of incidents defined by CERT-In that needs to be reported, starting from the network systems, servers, a website, database,
defacing,
SCADA systems, IoT, AL, ML, even the fake mobile app. Even the fake mobile app you need to report it. So there is a clear guideline what are all under the reporting mechanism should come in. So that gives you a clear picture of what needs to be reported to CERT-In. Yes, please.
Sir, I agree to your point, what needs to be reported. But the problem for us is, if it is our organization, and if it is not impacting the country or the state or international laws and regulations, why do I report it to CERT-In?
That's why you defined it, no? If you don't feel that impact in your organization, that means it is not a security incident to you.
No, for us it is an incident, for us, within our organization.
Then it needs to be reported.
No, what is the use? That's what I'm saying. Actually, there is a play game here.
No, impact is from, but who has initiated that impact? What is the guarantee that that's not going to repeat in some other organization?
No,
so there are many national interest into this.
No, that is fine. I totally agree to that. But what happens, particularly in the current scenario, there is kind of a media and there is kind of a customer, they get a negativity of a company or organization, we did not protect it well.
Yeah.
Even though we had a system, right? And again, from a regulatory standpoint, internal to the country or to the international standpoint, it could have been a breach for us, and we'll be fined for that.
Yes.
And that gets into the media. Again, we lose our credibility.
No, it is not necessary to get into the media because certain reporting is not necessarily getting into the media.
Sir, automatically आ जाता है sir, TV में आ जाएगा.
No,
Not necessary.
not all.
Not all. No.
Going to media from the certain, not at all.
No, not from certain.
So it is better to be honest about cybersecurity, take my word. If there is a car fault, right, if you buy a car and the car is faulty, it comes in the media, they are recalling the cars to fix it, right? If there's a cyber issue, Air India sent a note, right, email to everybody, to me also, that my data was compromised and I got an email from them. So it is better to be honest rather than to put it in closed doors. That's my take on it, and that is a responsible company, responsible citizen is to disclose. That's the best practices, that's my take. Dinesh and anybody wants to add anything more to this?
So, I would like to say here, it's not about only specifically limited to the company. It may happen that because since I'm from the endpoint security or EDR kind of solution, it could be a new kind of malware altogether with a new technology which could impact other customers in the segment also. And that's the reason I think if it has to be reported, or it has to be reported to the vendor also at least, because unless you get support from the vendor for incident investigation or further analysis of the incident, I think they wouldn't be able to help. And that's the reason I think reporting is also, even to the CERT-In also, because that would also, because their consultants and their people would also come into action and try to prevent this kind of threats.
Dinesh, your thoughts on this topic of incident management and 6 hours reporting and having the infrastructure for getting reporting in 6 hours?
Sir, if it's a Tata, Birla or an Adani or any of these large companies, and if there's a fire in a small office, they report it to the BSc, NSC that this has happened and we're taking care of it.
True.
They don't feel shy about that. We are all cybersecurity guys. We all, when we talk about it, we say it is never 100%. So if that 1% or 0.5% manifests itself, why should we feel, ashamed about that? Or like the gentleman said, that it will go out in the media and then they'll make fun. The whole idea is, we have not even ever, sensitized anybody in the organization that it's a incident.
True.
A disaster which has happened. A fire, flood, this, that, or whatever. Now, let's take Bangalore, for example. We saw what has happened over there. We saw what happened in Pune. We saw companies not working over there. It is a disaster which has happened. A cyber incident is also a disaster. The first thing is to sensitize media. What happens is that when something like this happens, what do we do? Nahi, hamara data nahi hai. Your data is being over there, available for sale.
True.
It is obvious. It is not available for sale. You can get the dump. That is also there.
True.
And you stand up and tell the world, no, it is not my data. Are we all blind? Is the world blind? No. So we have to change our sensitivity over there. The whole point being that till date we are not reporting. Right from the IT Act, the day it was brought in, we were asked to report. We have never reported. SEBI asks you to report everything which happens to your organization in terms of money, in terms of event or whatever. We have never reported. We've always put it under the carpet.
Got it.
IT department, the first guy, one example, very small example. There was a short circuit in a extension cord. It led to the whole facility going down. Short ho gaya wahan se. And it was not reported. अरे सर ये पावर कॉर्ड जो है वही शॉर्ट हो गया था. अच्छा 4 घंटे तुम्हारी मशीन बंद थी, सब कुछ बंद था, कंपनी बंद हो गया. वो इंसिडेंट नहीं है. क्या हुआ? अरे शॉर्ट सर्किट 50 रुपए का था, हम नया ले आए. नो. So that is the whole point. Why should we not change that sort of ball game also?
Yeah, thank you. Rajesh, you were thinking of adding something, right?
Yeah. One clarity here. I would like to add a clarity because I think it was protected. So we are ready to report to the media also if it's required. But वो लोग मेरा करेंगे वैसा बात नहीं. Negative promotions होता है उनका channel बढ़ाने.
नहीं, sir, sorry. The certain guidelines, what I understand, you have to report. Any of these 20 points happen, you have to report to certain. Non-reporting is non-compliance.
Another point.
Period.
Another point.
Pardon? Yeah, that's what the guidelines,
See,
I understand from the guidelines.
One more point I wish to share. This is the DG of CERT-In called for a high level. How do you look at this guidelines, etc., discussions for. Then he also suggested that if a security incident has happened, how do you look at this? The first priority is doing a compliance, or your first priority is to protect your asset, which is your first call. So CERT-In is here to help you to protect your, and then in the process you do on a structured procedural way. That's how the reporting is coming in. So indirectly what they are trying to say is that protect your asset. So one more statement also. There are two buzzwords. One is digital, second one is internet. When I say internet, it is internet from the trusted source used responsibly. But the third component is there, which is we are all avoiding, which is called data, not the information. If the data processed in a meaningful way, it is information, but again depends on the logic that I apply. If I am applying a logic on a data, it becomes one set of information, which is media. If he is applying a logic on the data, raw data, then it becomes another set of information. So the data which has got inside, which everyone is ignoring it. In today, at present now, do you estimate how many citizens are using this internet? 82 crores. Now, in the next 2 years, it's going to touch around 120 crores. That being the volume of internet or digital or data, the literacy on this has to come in. So the CERT-In's objective here is to make aware of these issues, internet, the cyber security issues, than reporting. I think, going forward, once you get matured in your systems, security maturity, put in place in your systems, this will go down on this.
Yeah, thank you. Can I go to the next question, please? So I have a related question to what we discussed about 6 hours reporting, incident management and everything. So we hear from the industry that a lot of solutions are available today, right, in terms of AI, ML, and all the latest technologies are available today, right? However, we see that there's a shortage of people today in the cyberspace. There are more than 500,000 jobs open, and we don't have talent in this industry. But however, we have tools like AI, ML technologies available to resolve this. We still see a lot of gap, right? Companies are not adopting to those tools. They're not buying them. They are trying to shy away or say, no, I am, my environment is fully right and secure. There's nothing in my environment going wrong, There's a notion, okay, if something like it goes to the media, people will know, we are not doing. So the fact is there's no 100% cybersecurity in any environment. I've had the privilege of auditing the Fortune 100 companies also in the world, including Amazon and Azure. If you see the SOC 2 reports, they clearly say these are the exceptions in their cybersecurity. So if companies like Amazon, AWS, and Google also are willing to accept that they are not 100% cyber secure, then in my opinion, we should not shy away from accepting the fact that we are not 100% in our environment also. That's the first point, right? Second point, I have a question coming back to the question is, how do we take care of this issue with this shortage, but the tools available to comply with these norms? So I'm seeing a lot of gap, and in the way we are going, right, I don't see the gap being fulfilled in the next 5 years. Right? Mandatory guidelines is fine, but because of the no visibility, we will not be able to report. Because we don't have the visibility, we don't have the data plane, we don't have governance, we don't have all of these. So how do we address this issue?
It's a really a concern in two aspects. Companies or organizations, they provide a budget for overall IT. In the overall IT, whether the security component is inside as a line item or it is outside. You may spend a lot of money on building up your servers, your network systems, firewalls, these defense system, etc. But the same organization having an endpoint at somewhere else down the line in the factory, not even the virus signature updated, database not updated. That is vulnerable where the infection is going to come up. So how the organization take the security business as a serious, providing the right resources, at least at the budget level. That is one concern. But now, at least the concept of CISO has just started. IT is there almost in 30. I mean, the structured or the matured IT infrastructure in the companies, it is there from the 30 years onwards. But the security is just started, probably in our knowledge, probably 2010, because CERT-In was formed 2009. Of course, CERT-In was there from 2004 onwards, but organizational setup and structured way of functioning in CERT-In was started 2009 onwards. So the security also, the topic CISO, security, this was discussed in the last 1 decade only, I would say. So it's a long way to go in terms of provisioning the budget, number one. Number two, the skill set for the security, be it a consultant, security audit, or cyber technology, cyber security techies. There is a gap. We need to accept that.
Okay.
It may take some time to fill the gap.
Got it. Kaustabh, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have a similar and a different perspective here. Like we know information security is, basically a combination of 3 elements, which is PPT, people, process and technology. To answer, probably my view on this question would be 69% problems are because of people. So now when it is a 69%, that is 2/3 of the issues are because of the people, there is a lot of scarcity of the resources which are genuinely required and they are qualified and competent. Like in audit terms we say qualified and competent. Qualified and competent resources are not available. Like Honorable Council of Israel said, they have started doing this from the mid-school level so that the awareness is already there. Now today, because in India, the perspective, I am sure Mr. Kanna would agree, if we don't have certification, we are not qualified.
True, absolutely.
If we don't have a degree, we are not qualified. Although the person is aware, qualified and competent to handle all these events, because we don't have that certificate on the wall, people don't get a chance. Yeah. So my perspective here is that there is a gap, definitely, but there is also a sector, there is also some part of the society who is already qualified and competent, but they are not getting the chance. And hence the gap is being more and more widened. Otherwise, bridging of the gap might be easier for us in a near future.
So let me twist this question to Ajit. Yes. Do you think this technology that we have today, AI, ML and SOC, can help fulfill this gap and expedite the compliance requirements and give visibility to the...
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we look at, again, taking example of basic endpoint security, because that is, I think, the lowest base of the pyramid which most of the organization use. So that is basic security. But again, in endpoint security also, how many organizations take it very seriously? Because that's a question I would like to ask. Because if many times it is budget driven or probably because, it is most neglected. But there are products where you have got AI, ML technologies, you have got other platforms. Because if we normally look at the threats, they are like known threats, unknown threats. Most of the time, known threats will be taken care of with the help of signature updates. But the major damage would always be done with the unknown threats where you don't have a solution, and what kind of to what extent the damage can happen, it depends on the payload or the destructive activity, and that is the problem. So definitely there is, to answer your question, there is definitely solution. We have got platforms where, they're like managed detection and response. If we talk, there are additional tools like EDR or MDR or XDR. Now we talk about extended detection and response. So definitely if there is a challenge like the organization don't have their own SOC, like they don't have their own qualified people, so they can definitely make use of these third-party tools, and then, or they can actually outsource it to third-party experts who can manage it for them. Yeah.
Dinesh, what's your take? Whether technology can solve this problem of governance, data management, and incident management, and to be compliant with the certain guidelines?
When you asked the question, I remembered saying a quote from Bruce Schneier. So I was sort of pulling it out. I remembered half of it. If you think technology can solve your security problems, then you don't understand the problems and you don't understand technology. Okay, very simple. I've been doing this for about 20 years now, and I remember how I started off. And what I've learned along the way, and I think practically every single security professional in this room has learned along the way in the school of hard knocks. There is no institution worth its name which can give you a sort of a degree or a certificate and say that you are now job ready. When you walk out, you will run along and you will not be walking. Practically everyone who walks out of an institution is crawling. And then you have to, nurture that child and make that person into something, and he or she becomes a cybersecurity professional in time.
Yeah, true. Agree.
So the problem is more fundamental. And practically today, I have seen, the first institution which came up offering cybersecurity degree programs.
Yeah.
And when I asked that guy, one of them I asked, or I keep seeing syllabus kya hai. It's a rehash of a CEH and a CISA and a CSM and whatever programs, CSSP. You bring it all together, put it in a mixie and pull it out.
True.
Okay, you have a syllabus. Make a nice, sexy looking, brochure.
Agree, Dinesh ji.
And that's it.
So let me paraphrase this question for the audience, right? Yeah, I'm coming to you. Question is to you. Yeah, again, just let me address the question, rephrase the question first. So since we have a technology gap, and like Dinesh said, freshers and people who cannot accommodate to the industry, right? The issue is how do we solve this problem of getting incidents, understanding incidents, right? And reporting it to CERT as required within the 6 hours period. So that is the question. I would like the people here to give some solutions. Yeah, please, Varun.
Thank you very much. So my question to the eminent panelist is, while CERT directives are welcome and they are a good way forward, because up till now we haven't had regulations which are a directive. My question is threefold. As you said, how will be implemented? What are the punitive actions which are planned if these things are not implemented? From the industry's point of view, if I am running an organization and I have a small organization, I am not interested in reporting a cybersecurity incident which has happened to me. I am interested in running my own business. I'm not interested in cybersecurity. I'm not looking at cybersecurity till the time it affects me. It is like I'm walking on the road and somebody pulls out my purse and there are only 20 rupees. I will not go to the police station and report it. But if I'm coming out of the bank and I have 2 lakh rupees or a higher amount, then I'll probably go to a police station. So for a smaller organization, a data breach might not affect. And even if it affects, as the gentleman brought out, it might not be a good business sense to leave everything and just go and report it to CERT and wait for something to happen. I'm not willing to contribute to the national infrastructure and national this thing. I'm interested in running my own business, so to say. I was reading somewhere that the CERT says that they have punitive action of one year of imprisonment and 1 lakh of fine if you don't do it. Yes. How are they going to implement it? So it is something like SEBI. Eventually SEBI has got teeth now, and SEBI is using it in a very nice way, and everybody is benefiting from that. If you are engaging in fair play, everybody has to benefit. So similarly, at a certain date later on, whatever CERT has planned now will get implemented, and everybody will understand, including the smaller industries, that it is important. But as of now, how you can issue directives, but how will you implement it is my question.
Yeah, Rajesh, you want to take that since you addressed this question maybe with the DG, etc.
I think there are two questions I can take it from. The first one is that you quoted up to 1 year of prison or up to 1 lakh or both. See, this is not from CERT-In. If you look at IT Act section 70C, right, it is there. Correct. So CERT-In is quoting from that. It is CERT-In is not giving the direction that you will be put in prison. No, it is already there in the IT Act section 70C. That is what it's quoted. Number two, the organization. So far, CERT-In has given this guidelines to whom it is applicable, right? From any company which is coming under, it is defined. And then the data center operators, CSPs, etc. There is a recent guideline, I'm not sure how many of you know, with effect from coming 25th of September, these guidelines will be applicable to micro, small, medium enterprises.
MSMEs, correct.
MSMEs. So coming from, starting from the 25th of...
That's what we just said in the context.
Yes. Yeah. So here, then the third component is you define what is that security incident. 20 rupees may not be a matter. But CERT-In, what it looks, it is not looking at the 20 rupees. It is looking at how the way by the hacker has been formed, what the methodology has been used for, so that we will find a, arrest for that. The same way will not be repeated in the somewhere company.
I might not come to know that my 20 rupees have got stolen. That is the problem.
So whether it's a 20 rupees, 200, 2 lakh, 20 lakh, the matter here is that how the technology or the breach or the methodology to break all these controls and then taken that money. That is what it's being looked at here. So that preventive controls can be given, or there is a lot of learnings from that.
Yeah, you would add, Ajay?
If I can just add one this thing. Let us look at the counter situation where you've not reported a breach. The hacker is not going to sit quiet. He is going to gain publicity out of it. He is going to gain currency out of it. So it's a non-brainer to report it to CERT. Because if you don't report it and the hacker comes out publicly, then you face a loss of reputation also, and you will face the regulatory fire also. So I don't think it's an option anymore. In fact, it's beneficial to go to CERT-In and report it.
Yeah.
Because at least from the regulatory point of view, you've closed one loop of it.
Absolutely, perfect. Thank you. We have one question here. So can you please, we have one question here. Okay. Is it connected to the same point?
Yeah, it is regarding the data actually.
Okay, please go ahead.
Which actually, basically I am a cyber security consultant for the UCBs, mostly in the urban cooperative banks, right? Yes. More network engineer rather than the cyber security consultant, because whenever I just go and I become a cyber security consultant, first things I need to actually assess the network and need to upgrade it, okay, before implementing something. Which is actually, you already says that regarding the data and the information. Say the DLP is already there, right, to get the compliant for the urban cooperative banks. The many banks actually, I don't know how they do the marketing that cloud people, right, like AWS say or Azure say something. They put it their CBS over there actually. And they are not actually, they are asking something DLP compliant kind of thing, they didn't actually give them. I used to tell them that, okay, compliant, we keep like a compliant, means RBI compliant, keep it aside. Think about your security first. Think about your infrastructure first, right? Okay, cyber security or RBI compliance, or say, if I go precisely, it's 13 control, right? Security control, which we give is, right? They are actually running behind that. So I told them that, I used to tell them that keep this aside. My point here is that when I used to convince them, I'm trying to convince them that we have to go for the hosting, right, in any data center, right, in compliant data center is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, I don't know. I'm also struggling with the RBI guideline that is a tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 4, I used to say that go for the tier 3 at least, right. But how we convince them, I really don't know, so I am asking to take this opportunity.
The question is to store what? I don't understand the question.
Yes, I'm the question. Question is that I'm just putting that background. How we convince them, or what actually I have used to tell them, your data, not data, it's a CBS, so data is over there, right, a database. On the cloud, like Azure, is better over there, or something is the hosting in data
So can
center.
I answer this question? RBI has got to give, Dr. Naresh can elaborate. Yeah. RBI has got a directive to have a data localization in India only, right? So whether the data center must be hosted in India,
right,
and all the data, even certain guidelines says that logs must be stored in India,
right.
That is a guideline from CERT-In, and there's a guideline from RBI to have a data localization only for all the banks, nationalized banks.
Right, sir. Actually,
so maybe we can take this offline.
Yeah,
please,
my
request, right? We can take this with Dr. Naresh offline. So coming to, so we have just 2 minutes with us. So one last question to the panelist is, we have seen a lot of hue and cry in the media on the certain guidelines affecting privacy of people and privacy of their data, right? So I will just, last question for the day, and everybody needs to contribute on this. And I would like to take this question, quick 1 minute answer, just 1 second on the privacy issue. Do you think that it's going to impact the privacy of the people with these new guidelines?
Ideally not, because...
Okay, good. Fine, one answer. Rajesh.
Here I am confused. Privacy for what? For privacy for whom? For me? or for you. Meaning, my privacy data is there in all social media channels. You take anything. So
Right.
what is that we mean? Except my healthcare and other stuff. Everything is available. So we need to, in my view, there's a long way to go to define
Fine.
the sensitivity.
Thank you. One line answer. Ajit.
Yeah, I think it is not going to impact, and I think it has to be mandatory for the cyber security awareness and training, maybe from the school or college level.
Thank you. Dinesh ji.
The only guy who's talked about privacy are the VPN companies.
Thank you. Anybody from the audience, not the same ones, anybody new who wants you to answer this question? Take your views on this. Anybody else? Dr. Naresh, anybody else, please?
Oh, sorry.
At least one of us. One of you
And the lobbying.
Pardon?
And the lobbyist
And
companies.
the lobbyists. Anybody who feels that their privacy is going to get impacted with the new certain guidelines? Anyone?
I think it will get improved. I think our privacy is going to get protected, PII as well as personal health, because information will get protected. Why? Because holistically, CERT is looking at it holistically, the whole ecosystem is going to improve, and that's why the privacy is going to increase. And I'm going to be more protected as far as my PII is concerned subsequently. That is my
Perfect.
take.
Thank you. Dr. Naresh, your views on the privacy, please, on this, whether it's going to impact the privacy of people or not.
Yeah, man, to be precise, it will not impact the privacy because we are sending very specific information to CERT-In. They have
Correct.
requested for. Another aspect to it, I mean, most of the things we discussed, right? We should not be reporting the alerts basically. So, a lot of times we get confused with, alerts and the security incidents.
Good.
That's what I would say.
Thank you, and that's my opinion also. The government already has your data. Aadhaar data, PAN card data.
One more point is that they ask you for the logs. If something has gone wrong, not asking anybody to send the logs, which people are saying.
Absolutely.
Log
Absolutely.
मांग रहे हैं. Log is being asked for if something goes wrong, then they want the logs in hand,
Correct.
which we normally don't have.
Correct. Good. And government already has your data. They have your Aadhaar card, they have your passport, they have your PAN card. What more privacy do you want them not to have? They already have all the information. Birth information, death information, right? PAN card, Aadhaar, income tax. Whatever you have done, they already have the information. Pardon?
Sir, one more thing is like, so whenever any incident happens, CERT-In asks for, it is mandatory to report to them.
Absolutely.
And once we report,
Yeah.
they ask for a lot of information.
Right.
So it is a proactive
Absolutely.
way of sending this information.
Yeah, so my last final word on this, it is the best thing that India did have in the last 20 years, and it is going to help in securing our country, right, going forward to it, and we all have to voluntarily comply with the guidelines, and that is my final stake. And Rajesh wants to add something, please. Thank you.
There was one, of course not here, the previous session there was one discussion where to raise our concerns if not certain. No, there are some discussions. There were some questions coming from how to raise our concerns in terms of reporting, in terms of cyber security, etc. So that's one piece of information that we all must be knowing. This DSCI, Data Security Council of India, backed by NASSCOM.
True.
Yeah. So the DSCI is the body who drafted the PII Data Act. So always you can, because it represents their government is also listening to DSCI, and that DSCI is formed by the industry associations. So you can, if there is a channel, you can always reach to them. It will be taken up into this.
Thank you. I thank the panelists for this
I
discussion.
have
Dinesh, you want to add?
one
Please.
request from the audience over here. And this again relates to directions itself. Now, as an example, not an example, what happened is this company is my client, based, they are a global company. So they work across the globe. And my friend who is a regional CISO, based in the Middle East, he had the question that if I have to synchronize my clock with NIC,
True.
okay, I've got like 20 or 40 countries. How do I synchronize with them? So I put out the question to a number of friends of mine, and I have not been able to get an answer. And I have yet to put the question to CERT directly. But if anybody over here has a solution, this is a company which is like they have huge operations in India.
So, can I answer that? I was with the Director General of CERT at the Nullcon event last week, And in fact, he addressed this question, which is for somebody. And they said, you have a GMT. All those time clocks are synced to the GMT. Even the Indian NTP time is synced to the GMT. Right? And that's what the answer the Director General gave me. And I think that's what, if anybody in this, forum has done it, who is on a global environment, can share their experiences.
See, will somebody in Europe do GMT? Will somebody in the US do GMT?
It syncs with the GMT, yes.
No.
The
That's
NTP,
the whole point. No? They have to change all the countries to GMT, and here, because we said it.
Yeah,
now
true.
that is the issue.
That's the answer I got from the certain Director General, and that's what I'm communicating.
I don't think any American would say, I will accept GMT.
Okay, so we leave it here. Can we take it offline, please? Yeah. We have a lunchtime, after some time, we'll take it offline. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
For the active discussion. Right. Thank you for the contribution from everybody. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, all the speakers. It was an excellent session, all the speakers. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. May I request Mr. Ashwin Chaudhary to hand over the token of gratitude to all the panel speakers, please? So finally, let me request Mr. Selin Sen Gupta to hand over the memento to Mr. Ashwin Chaudhary. A huge round of applause for them.
Can we have a picture of all the